Hey everybody. So I've been playing Diablo 4 as a necromancer for a while. I'm actually a big fan of the series, have played 1 through 3, also as a necromancer. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the build that I have. I'm now level 81, but I think some of the information I'm going to talk about is not necessarily end game build. It's just a couple of little tweaks that I've made to my character that I find to be enjoyable as I'm running around and confronting mobs and even bosses and things. A lot of the information I found online is really slanted for a particular purpose. There's like some PvP builds and there's some really strong end game builds, but it's hard to find a real excellent general purpose build. But I think I've settled on, after some experimentation and some tweaking, and I continue to do so. Actually, I think it's important to note that part of the fun of the game, I guess, is always kind of tweaking and evolving your build. Let's talk first about my skill tree. So my build is Bone and Corpse, which is a pretty popular, I think, build, especially for endgame, but it's just the skills that I enjoy using. I have Bone Splinters with the critical strike option here. And then here's something maybe a little unconventional. I've been hanging on to Decompose because it helps me generate a corpse. And I was finding there were situations where I didn't have a corpse handy, and for a corpse build that really messes up kind of my whole flow of how I start creating damage, especially in a mob situation. So this was handy. I'm hanging on to this now, but I'm using it less and less. It was more important early on, so I might trade this in. I don't have an ultimate skill, as you'll see, so maybe I'll just trade it in for the ultimate skill or something else. Of course, I have Bone Spear as a bone build. Of course, I have Corpse Explosion, and this deals 8% damage to vulnerable enemies. I have Grim Harvest, which helps replenish my essence, and this also increases my damage, so those are good corpse skill buffs to have. I have here Corpse Tendrils, of course. This is a very, very important skill for this particular build, and I'll show you that in some of my gear. And then this is just to fortify. These are critical for a bone build. Of course, you want to have buffs to critical strike, and these three will help buff critical strike. I don't have this one because I don't have anything that has a cooldown. This doesn't have a cooldown. This doesn't have a cooldown. And that's the extent of my bone skills. I don't have Bone Prison, which does have a cooldown. So, and I don't have Bone Spirit, which has a cooldown. And I don't have Bone Storm, which has a cooldown. So this is kind of useless for my particular build. I have this one point here, which is helpful to kind of keep my minions alive. I have Ossified Essence as a bone build. So we'll skip Paragon for now. I want to walk through some of the gear that I've set up that supports all of these skills real quick. So I'm using this unique helm. It's not bad. I'm not attached to it really. Bone Spear, leaving some of these echoes, is nice. It leaves a couple of kind of orbs as it travels, and those do just a little damage. It's not great, and it is a fixed amount, so I'm not overly attached to this. I do like that it gives me a 25% critical strike with bone. This is interesting. Let's take a look at my skeletons real quick. So like I said, I sacrificed my golem with iron so that I get 30% critical strike damage. My skeletal warriors, I have this 15% chance to create a corpse, again just to help me create as many corpses as possible, but this is probably the more widely accepted option if you are a critical strike bone corpse type of build. Cold Mages is great. I like this because it does slow and freeze enemies. That's why when you look at this, I have this aspect here for Cold Mages. This just helps me survive a little because most of my focus is on doing damage, as much damage as possible. Okay, this movement speed on a Necromancer build is so important. Don't know if I can emphasize it enough. I spent probably 2 million gold trying to roll for movement speed on these boots because I wanted to keep them. I found them. I saw they had nice buffed corpse tendrils. I needed the dexterity boost to get me over the minimum requirement for some of my Paragon bonuses. And so I really wanted to keep these boots, but they didn't have movement speed. And you can't emphasize enough, huge quality of life Necromancer boost. That's probably one of my biggest ones. It may be pretty obvious because Necros are known for being unbelievably slow. And this massive quality of life, and also having +3 to max evade, is also critical. That's actually helping with my survivability more than some of my buffs to life and things. Circling back to critical strike, having this aspect on a two-handed weapon doubles the chance. So you can see here I have nearly a 40% critical strike chance for 6 seconds every time I cast corpse tendrils, and then it gives me a 76% bonus to anybody who's hit by corpse tendrils. That's a huge crowd control feature, so another good quality of life buff there. These things, I don't think I have anything too earth-shattering here. Bone Spear, making things vulnerable, that's important. Buff to critical strike, helping my essence regen, I think that's good. Another kind of critical buff to ossified essence. These gloves, these unique gloves, give these a try if you happen to find them and you're a necromancer. I found these a long time ago. I haven't found them since, even though I've found 3 of these helms. I think I have 3 Mother's Embrace rings. I have 3 of the other same pair of boots. I have tons of repeat other uniques that I keep finding. This is the only one of these that I found. I found it a while ago, and I can't part with these things. Volatile skeletons that will charge toward the enemies. So let's take a quick look at my Paragon board. And I apologize, I don't know the names of all of these boards, but I'll sort of talk through my build out here so that you can see. Doing a similar damage focus build will suggest you start off swinging to the right here and picking up 20% damage, and then swinging to the left and picking up this other damage rare node. So I exited out of the top here because that's the only exit. And then I went first with this one, which is I think more of a corpse focus, but I didn't spend a ton of time here. You can see I kind of got in and out of this board pretty quickly just to grab the legendary node here that says if you consume 5 corpses you get 40% increased damage. That's pretty significant. I'm flying through corpses at a pretty intense speed in every battle, so consuming 5 corpses is extremely easy to do, and a 40% buff in damage is significant. So I thought that was important to get early on as one of my early boards, and then put some focus over here to damage to elites, and then also over here more damage to injured, and a buff to critical strike, which is a good sort of way to exit this board. Next board I got was mostly focused on bone and crit, so you can see I have a critical strike with bone here, a bunch of these. The legendary node is also a boost to your bone skill. This is probably the only place I've seen essence on kill. I don't have essence on kill on any of my gear. I've never even seen essence on kill available on any of the gear, so I did think it was worthwhile to come over here and grab some of this. I did spend a decent amount of Paragon points on this board. And then the board I'm working on now is this one, which again has a lot of damage to, this is damage to healthy, and then I have damage to injured. This is also damage to injured, which I'll probably make my way to, and then I have the legendary node here down to here. That's where I'm heading now, and I'll get the just overall critical strike damage. Okay, as a matter of fact, instead of talking about them, why don't I just go someplace? really show you skeletons in action. But let's see if I have any corpses around now. You can see this is because of those gloves. See all these skeletons run into these mobs? Hopefully you can see those skeletons kind of running to the mobs. And when you are in a situation where you have to stand in a particular spot in one of these events and do damage and you can't leave, you know, some of the ones where you're following the specters and you have to stay with them or else the time runs out, or some of the ones where you have to protect you know, certain characters on the screen from being attacked, those gloves are super important because you can start sending damage kind of wherever the mobs happen to be, and really helpful, excellent quality of life improvement, I think. And then just general running around. It's pretty helpful to be able to run around. Oh, looks like I got a unique. That's good. So, hopefully you got a sense of those gloves. Those are really fun. And then my general workflow, I wasn't really talking through it, but I think you can see typically I will try to create at least one corpse, cast corpse tendrils. That automatically gives me nearly 40% bump to critical strike chance. It also pulls everything in that's in a radius. I can then start casting Bone Spear, I can start casting Corpse Explosion, and pretty easily do a lot of damage pretty quickly. So my skeletons really didn't fare too well in that battle. There's a lot happening. So as you'll see, I don't really use Decompose very much, but it does have a pretty impressive range, and I also use it when I run out of skeletons like I just did. You can see you can make a pretty sizable pile of corpses and then kind of refill your army pretty easily, which is helpful. And then I end up having some extra corpses to do this. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed my some of the things that I like about being a Necromancer class in this game. I'm having fun. Looks like I'm close to another Paragon point, so I guess I'll go off and do that. And thanks for watching.